welcome to Starkweather Manor. I'm Bensonhurst, Mr. Starkweather's faithful servant. Mr. Starkweather welcomes you and has a few requests while you visit. Most importantly, Mr. Starkweather loathes technology, so please silence your cellular devices. And also, Mr. Starkweather values his privacy, so please, no photography or recording. And finally, Mr. Starkweather is very elderly and needs his rest, and there are many dark corridors to get lost in. So please, mind your children. Enjoy your stay at Starkweather Manor.
Nancy, please. You know Mr. Starkweather is resting in his bedroom, right to that doorway. You must stop him.
I'm sorry, Miss Withers.
But you startled me. My apologies. But I dare say a slight scare would do you no harm. However, a man in his 90s, in Mr. Starkweather's condition, can prove to be fatal. Remember that, girl.
Yes, ma'am. I guess this terrible storm has made me a little edgy.
Yes, it is a tempestuous evening. I presume all of our guests have been shown to the room?
Yes. Well, all but Mr. Starkweather's grandson, Mr. Simon III. It's a long drive from his college, and the storm, you know.
I hope we can start without him. It's already past Mr. Starkweather's bedtime, and he must have his sleep.
I assure you, Miss Withers, the room is spotlessly clean.
I certainly hope so.
I have served as Mr. Starkweather's housekeeper for many years before you came here, Miss Withers. I do not need you to tell me how to do my job. You've brought the coffee?
It's right here on the table, Miss Trent.
Then go back to the kitchen and help Minerva with the rest of the refreshments.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Starkweather says that he wishes to have everyone present in the drawing room at 8 o'clock sharp. I'll ask Bensonhurst to fetch the guests from their rooms.
Mr. Starkweather will be ready.
I'm coming, Mrs. Starkweather!
The another car's parked in the garage, like
As I told you, oh, that's my breath. You're dripping water all over the fort, Rufus. Why did you enter through the front door? I told you a million times that servants never entered through the front door.
I reckon I forgot, Mr. Benson. Besides, it's raining out there.
I'm aware of that. Now it seems as if it's been raining in here as well, thanks to you.
You're welcome.
Go back out the way you came from and remove yourself around to the back door. Do you think you can manage that?
Well, I don't know, but I guess I'm gonna find out.
When the final guest, young Mr. Simon, arrives, I'll summon you so you can park this car for him.
Oh, good. While I'm waiting, I'll sit by the stove and see if I could go kills.
Don't be impertinent.
How can I be if I don't know what that means?
Just do as you're told. Go on to the kitchen and wait till our coffee. Not that way. Have you forgotten already that I told you to go around to the back door?
No, but I was hoping you had.
That man is an idiot.
I heard that.
Where do you want me to put this one, Minerva?
On the coffee table. Careful with it.
Yes, ma'am. I think everything is ready.
You think wrong. Place the cups on the saucers so all we have to do is pour the coffee.
Yes, Minerva.
The others are coming down. Ms. Van Zandt informed me that Mrs. Starkweather wishes the staff to be present as well.
He wants the servants here?
Precisely. Even Rufus. Had I been informed of that fact sooner, I would have ordered him to take a bath. He's been out in the rain, so perhaps it will help.
If you ask me, no blood would help.
Be that as it may, I should summon him and Mrs. Trent.
Mr. Starkweather wants the servants to be here.
I'll pull out my crystal ball and let you know. Remember what I told you when you came to work here?
Yes, ma'am. Do as you're told, and don't ask questions.
Exactly. Stick to that.
I will, Minerva.
Oh dear, I never went to work with occasions. I suppose Uncle Simon inviting us here. It's a special occasion, isn't it, Jordan?
Suppose so, considering that most of the time he treats us like lepers.
Do you think Uncle Simon treats us like jungle cats?
Not leopards, mother. Lepers. Forget it. Don't worry, you look fine.
Thank you, son.
Tell you one thing. We should have never inherited this mausoleum. First thing we'll do is call up the Adams family and let them know it's on the market.
How many chickens are we?
Oh,
Minerva, we didn't see you there, you attractive young helper.
Nancy is a nice girl, and I mean for her to stay that long.
I'm sure I don't know what you mean.
I doubt that.
I don't understand.
I believe that, Miss Fiona. Why don't you have a seat and I'll pour you a cup of coffee?
Coffee, that sounds nice. It's a little damp in here.
That's because it's a lot of damp out there. How do you take your coffee?
Mother's prefers yours black. I like mine sweet. I'll flavor it myself.
Whatever.
Oh, lovely hors d'oeuvres. These are delicious.
Glad you like them.
Looking very pretty tonight, Nancy.
Thank you, sir.
Sir. Makes me feel there's always great Uncle Simon. Call me Jordan.
You should call you Mr. Starkweather now, and we are proper should. If anyone calls you anything else, it'll be me. And you don't know which one I'm thinking.
Whatever, you never change.
Neither do you. Where's the pity? I have a seat next to your mother.
Yes, Drill Sergeant.
My goodness, Kathy. I don't see how y'all sitting living out here in the boonies away from fine restaurants, movies, and shopping centers. Why, I get so depressed I just sit down and weep.
It's not that bad, Paula. I stay here during the week and go to my apartment in town most weekends.
I'm so relieved to hear that.
I worked for a large corporation before Mr. Starkweather hired me to be his personal secretary, and believe me, this position is much nicer.
Look what we have here. 2 rays of sunshine and this full of gloom. You look beautiful, ladies.
I swear, Cousin Jordan, you are a rogue and a charmer.
I do my best. Won't you join us?
Have a seat over here. You'll be safer. Would you care for a cup of coffee?
Yes, Minerva, I took my black.
Load mine down with lots of cream and sugar. I must admit, I have an enormous sweet tooth.
Maybe that's what causes our winter vaccine.
And how are you this fine evening, Cousin Fiona?
What? Oh, I'm very well. Thank you, Paula.
That's just peachy. I swear. I don't know why we don't see more of one another. It seems like the only time we get together is for somebody's funeral.
Relying on funerals for somebody.
Shame on you. Don't be morbid, Cousin Jordan. Well, at least for once there's an exception to the rule. No one's dead.
So far. Anyway.
Don't worry, honey, you didn't spill any.
What did you mean by that remark, Jordan?
Well, nothing. It's just that when you called to tell us that we're going to start with a mansion for the weekend, at first I had assumed he had passed on.
You wish.
Sorry to pack when you got dressed.
It was a natural assumption. I mean, he has lived in years and in bad health. Also, you know that old boy's still with us, of course.
Ha.
Kathy, darling, I bet you know why Great Uncle Simon desired our presence this frightful evening. Come on, tell.
Well, Miss Van Zandt will give the particulars, but I believe Mr. Starkweather wishes to discuss as well.
Really?
I'd appreciate it if you went over the hors d'oeuvres.
I could misjudge me, Minerva. I was surprised, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where's Cousin Simon? Shouldn't he be here too?
When I contacted him last week, he said he could make it. Apparently he's going to be late. If he's tried to call tonight, he couldn't get through. The phones are dead.
Well, if we're going to talk about the will, I think he should be here. After all, he is Great Uncle Simon's only grandchild.
Yeah, you can probably get everything.
I'm very pleased with your investigation. I'll be glad to recommend you to my new clients.
Just doing my job, Miss Van Zandt.
Good evening, everyone.
I know we haven't met yet, but I got a pretty good idea of who you all are. Mrs. Starkweather and his son, Jordan, right?
That's right, Mr.
Davis. Call me Mike.
The woman Van Zandt, you said? I assume you're some sort of investigator?
You got it, pal. Private kind.
I see.
Who is this nice young man, dear?
He's a detective, Mother.
Detective? How exciting! Do you know Jessica Fletcher?
No, ma'am, she's way out of my league. I do, however, happen to know who you two ladies are, though.
Well, if you're a private investigator, I'd be surprised if you didn't.
That accent settles it then. You're Paula Thompson.
And you're 100% correct. I can't deny that I'm from the deep south.
If you came in deep yourself, you'd be in Central America.
That leaves you to be Kathy Collins. I'm glad to finally meet you in person.
Me too, Mike. Mike and I have corresponded over mailing facts on Mr. Starkweather's behalf.
Did she take it? No? I'll park.
I expect it to be unobtrusive.
I sure will. As soon as I find the dictionary and look it up.
Let's go sit by the fire and keep quiet.
By the fire? That too. My backside's still kind of soggy.
Keep an eye on him.
I shall do my best.
If all is in readiness, Ms. Van Zandt, I shall inform Mrs. Starkweather.
Yes, thank you, Vincent Ross.
Miss Van Zandt, I understand Freedom Simon has asked you to talk about the will.
That is correct. Frankly, I do not think it was a good idea. Mr. Starkweather's health is precarious at best, and he doesn't need all the excitement. I advised him to communicate with you by mail, but he insisted on summoning you to Starkweather Mansion. I only hope he doesn't make a decision.
There's coffee if anybody wants some.
I'll take some, Minerva.
How do you take it?
In a cup.
Black, please.
Keep still.
Miss Withers is bringing Mrs. Starkweather in to join us.
Can I move him?
Here you are, Mr. Starkweather.
Go.
I'll be right here if you need me.
To think I was once surrounded by presidents and kings, and my world have shrunk into this. A handful of relatives and a meager staff of hired help. Simon, where is my grandson?
We presume he's on his way, Mr. Starkweather.
Can't wait for him. Not enough time anymore.
Good evening, Grand Uncle Simon. You're looking well.
Are you blind or just a habitual liar?
So you making pleasantries, Uncle?
Save your breath. You've always been a smooth talker, Jordan. That doesn't cut any ice with me. Nothing but a greedy opportunist boy. Now I don't know. One myself at your age.
I guess it runs in the family.
You have a point. Well, Fiona, you look the same.
I do? Why, thank you, Uncle.
It wasn't necessarily meant as a compliment.
Oh, great Uncle Simon, you are awful.
At my age, and with my money, I can afford to say exactly what I think. And I do. And how's my little George Peach?
Little old me. Well, I'm just peachy, Uncle.
Would you care for some coffee, Mr. Starkweather?
Oh, he wasn't having any. The caffeine would keep him awake, and it can affect his blood pressure. Sometimes his medications cause it to run a little high.
Apparently I won't be having any Minerva. You heard my keeper.
Yes, sir.
Everyone aspires to live to a ripe old age. And for what? To be kept alive by medicines and machines? To be kept from enjoying so much of life's little pleasures like a cup of coffee?
You mustn't excite yourself, Mr. Starkweather.
You see, I'm not even allowed to feel any strong emotions.
That's unfun.
Ah, you put it very succinctly, Rufus. Old age is a bummer. Could have searched my vocabulary extensively and never come up with such an apt hate to leave behind. My money.
Well, you know what they say, Uncle. You can't take it with you.
Yes, that's what they say. A couple years ago I had Lois here. Job I will. I suppose you'd like to know how I provided for you? Why, yes.
Well, I for one admit, I'm just a teensy bit curious.
A teensy bit, eh?
I was afraid something like this would happen. Here, Mr. Starkweather, breathe deeply. See what you've done?
Me? I did it.
Should someone call an ambulance?
We can't, the phones are down. It's alright. He lost his breath. He just needs to breathe in free oxygen for a few moments.
This is the will Mr. Starkweather was referring to. As you all know, he has been a phenomenally successful businessman for many years.
I'll say, he's been on the cover of Forbes magazine at least a dozen times.
I never read.
He has the distinction of becoming one of the world's first billionaires.
20 years ago, I begged dear Ezra to ask his Uncle Simon for his business investments. But he was too proud.
Yeah, that and his pride. Lots of pride and very little money.
If I may continue, Mr. Starkweather's fortune now lies in the neighborhood of $50 billion.
I know that. I'll ask for a raise.
I won't go into details of the will, but it essentially bequeaths $1 million each to his household staff. Mr. Bensonhurst, his butler, Miss Trent, his housekeeper, Miss Withers, his nurse, Minerva Walker, his cook, Nancy Pollard, his maid, and Rufus Jones, his handyman.
Get the raise.
Oh, Mrs. Starkweather, I had no idea.
The will goes on to state that the rest of the money is to be divided equally among his surviving relatives. His grandson, Simon III, his niece, Fiona Starkweather, and her son Jordan will share 1/3, and his great niece, Paula Thompson.
Isn't that nice?
I always knew you'd do right by us, Uncle.
Oh, great Uncle Simon. I know you got mad when Mama married a Southern boy, but you two must have agreed on one thing. Blood is thicker than water.
I bet Miss Withers can tell you off, and it is.
Now that I've informed you of the will's contents, I have another announcement to make. As of tomorrow, this will becomes invalid.
What does embedded mean?
It means no good.
I've got a brother who's embedded.
Friends, that means we're not gonna get the money. You fool!
Then I guess I won't be buying that big screen TV I was thinking after all.
Sit. Sit. You too, Lois.
Why did you decide to disinherit us, Uncle?
Found a better use for my money, that's why. Oh, I didn't cut you out entirely. All of you in the old will receive $50,000 each.
50,000? 50 billion?
Lois advised me it would be a good idea to leave you a little something. That way you'd be less likely to contest against my new will.
You will.
Yes, that's why I had Kathy here stay over at Starkweather Mansion this weekend. To type it up nice and legal for my signatures. Mr. Davis was a disinterested party who witnessed the signing. And Lois will file it at the courthouse come Monday.
Mr. Davis said he's a detective. What did you hire him to do?
Mrs. Starkweather has hired me to conduct an investigation in the quiet. For the past 6 months, I've traveled to a dozen or more foreign countries, checking out some of the world's most brilliant scientists. Some well-known, others who prefer to keep their experiments hush-hush. I finally succeeded in finding one in Belgium. Let's call him Dr. X, who agreed to help Mrs. Starkweather do what he desires, which is clone himself.
Insane.
I don't understand.
Good. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Those blood and skin samples you asked me to prepare, the ones you said were being examined by specialists?
They were sent to specialists with us. Specialists in DNA.
I thought you were trying to find a cure.
I was. Not a cure for my various ailments, but a cure for dying. And I did find it.
Cloning?
Precisely. Through modern science and technology, I shall live forever.
It's not right.
That's neither here nor there. Leave that for the politicians and moralists to debate for decades to come. In the meantime, Dr. X says Mr. Davis named him will be creating a brand new me. Sit down, Withers. A lot of you seem to be displeased. Not, I suspect, because of the moral question, but because of your change in fortune. Too bad. Cloning is very expensive, especially if the process has requirements put at an absolute secrecy. But I will still have a sizable amount for the new me to inherit. No doubt I will be the first person on Earth to become my own heir. My blood pressure.
Yes, Mrs. Starkweather. If you'll excuse us, I need to check Mrs. Starkweather's blood pressure.
Why don't you take it right here?
Mrs. Starkweather's arms are too frail to get a reading from them. This is an outsized cuff meant to go around a patient's thigh. Mrs. Starkweather can stand the pressure from the infrared cuff better there. He's had enough excitement for one night. I shall put him to bed.
I guess our meeting is concluded, unless anyone has any questions.
I do. What the heck was all this about?
It's simple, Rufus. Uncle Simon was going to leave us a fortune. Instead, he decided to clone himself.
What does clone mean?
It means to take some cells from a person's body, copy them, and make a duplicate of the original.
They can do that? That's great. Maybe when the old Starkweather passes away, I'll get a new job working for the new Mr. Starkweather.
The new Mr. Starkweather will have to be born and grow up. It goes against the laws of nature. How?
It has all been arranged. Once Dr. X has created a new life, the cells will be implanted in a host mother, who will then carry the child to term.
Host mother? Who?
Me.
Why not? I'm young and healthy. Besides, I'll make a good mother for those Simons.
How could you consider being a part of this travesty?
I'll be well compensated.
Besides, have you heard anyone to give birth to a baby billionaire?
Uncle Simon is giving his money to a baby? In a manner of speaking, yes. Mr. Starkweather's fortune will be placed in a trust fund, which I'll administer. After that, ample funds will be available to provide for Kathy and the baby's care. Once he is fully grown and trained to deal in high finance, the fortune will then be turned over to him.
The kid will look, think, and act like Simon Starkweather. He could conceivably parlay his billions and trillions by the time he's an old man.
But for what purpose? To leave it to another clone? Then another? And another? When will it end? When there's a new Simon Starkweather with enough money and power to rule the world?
We didn't discuss it, but you might well be right.
I can't believe you'd condone such madness.
I believe that Miss Van Zant and the Collins girl will live like billionaires off of Mr. Starkweather's money. Money that should have gone to us and his family. I guess you'll get rich too, since you're part of this scheme.
Not me. I did the job I was paid to do. I'll take my very generous check and go home. Frankly, I don't care if the boss's little science fiction experiment works or not.
You should be ashamed. You should all be ashamed.
I believe you made your feelings quite clear, ladies. If you and the others could join me, I'd like to speak to all of you in the kitchen. We'll clear after you finish. I trust your ring if you require anything else.
Well, it might be kind of nice seeing the pitter-patter of little feet around the house, wouldn't it?
Oh, shut up, Rufus.
Kathy and I will retire to my room. You might as well begin typing up the new will. I'll direct you how to claim the proper legal terms.
Sure, Lois. Excuse us.
Hey, wait a minute! How come nobody asked me if I wanted to carry the baby? I can do it just as well as she can.
You're Mr. Starkweather's blood Impala. It wouldn't be proper.
Guess it would be kind of tacky.
Proper? You're about to conduct an experiment that makes Frankenstein look like an amateur. And you're worried about being proper?
Cool it, kid, before you burst the blood vessel. Mr. Starkweather's made up his mind. Making the feeling whatever the old man wants, he gets.
Succinctly put, Mr. Davis. Kathy?
I'm going upstairs to pack. Once I witness the signing tomorrow, I won't have any reason to stick around here. Night.
We were robbed.
We were?
Yes, Mother. Great Uncle Simon dickled the fortune in front of our noses. Snatched it away!
That was me!
Me? That man is a monster. Did you see that evil glint in his eye? He enjoyed pulling the rug from right under our feet.
Well, at least he's in his 50,000.
To him, that's no more than tossing a dime to a beggar. And he's just doing it to keep us from breaking his new will. You heard him?
Yeah!
I wish you were dead. I wish that would go with that tonight!
It would serve him right!
If Uncle Simon did die tonight, then we get our money. What are we gonna do? Would anyone care for a game of bridge?
Penny for your thoughts. That's all I can afford to pay. Now.
Mrs. Starkweather.
It's Jordan, remember? At least whenever that dragon lady isn't around.
I thought everybody had gone to bed.
Who's gonna turn in? I got an urge for a midnight snack.
I'll fix you something.
Never mind. What are you doing up?
Miss Trent sent me in here to make sure the fire screen was properly closed, so no sparks pop out into the roads.
I'm gonna start with a match to the ground? Wouldn't be such a bad idea.
You know, you shouldn't talk like that. Mrs. Starkweather is an invalid. How could he?
Where in my mind?
Jordan!
Ah. God should have called me by my first name.
You mustn't even suggest such a thing. It's wicked.
Why should that surprise you? Everyone knows I'm the black sheep of the family. Look what happens tonight. You have millions and I have billions. Think of the times we could have together. Something thought, admit it.
It's not. It's a horrible idea.
What part? Part about the money? You and I together.
The part about the money.
What about us?
Nancy, I thought you were gonna help me with the dishes.
I was just making sure the French doors were locked, Minerva.
I see. What are you doing in here?
Came down for a midnight snack when I saw Nancy. Stopped for a little chat.
That appetite of yours is gonna get you in trouble one of these days.
Minerva, what are you doing with that knife?
Mincing my meats.
At midnight?
I can't stand to have anyone see me cry. So I thought I heard someone down here and I came to check. If you're hungry, come with me. I'll fix you something.
Sure, Minerva. Anything you say, Minerva.
Finish checking and come and give me a hand.
Yes, ma'am.
Rufus. Thought I heard someone come in.
Oh, it's just
So I see. Good grief, man. What are you doing with that axe?
it's like this. I remember chopping fire this afternoon before it started raining, but I forgot to put the axe back in its shed. I've been dismembering things a lot lately. When I figured where I left it, I remember I better bring it inside and dry it out so I don't rust.
It's fine. But why bring it into the living room? Besides, how many times do I have to tell you to use the back door?
As many as you want. I ain't counting.
I swear, Rufus, you can deafen me yet. Go on to the kitchen and have Mrs. Trent give you a towel.
It ain't wet. Quit raining.
I know that. For the axe.
Oh, right.
The back door. If that man had a brain, he'd be dangerous.
I heard that.
Any for your thoughts?
Jordan, I was just getting a breath of fresh air. What did you do this week?
Munchies. Want a cookie?
No thanks.
So, did you and that Miss Van Zandt finish the new will?
Yes, it's all ready for Mr. Circular's signature. I see you calm down. I wouldn't blame you if you hated me.
Why would I hate you? I'd make the same deal if I were in your shoes.
I'm sure you would, Jordan.
Minerva was right. Being the mother of little Simon would be the next best thing, only the bit in yourself. But you're forgetting something though?
What?
Your little type won't need a dad too. Someone who can guide him and mold him to a perfect replica of great little Simon. A heartless, money-making machine.
You think so?
I know so. He would be a better father figure than I. A very attractive woman, Kathy. Who makes business with pleasure.
Get your crumbing hands off me!
What?
You're getting cookie crumbs on my blouse. And by the way, forget it. If I decide little Simon needs a father after he's born, I'll pick a suitable husband then. Not some sleazy, money-hungry slimeball like you, Jordan.
I could kill you, you witch!
I wouldn't try it if I were you. Not with a detective in the house. Aren't you finished in here yet?
I need to make everything all right.
Well, hurry up, girl. Minerva needs you in the kitchen.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't dawdle.
Someone left the French doors open. I'll close them. Miss Thompson?
Miss Trent, you gave me a fright.
I suppose I should be grateful you didn't shoot me. What on earth are you doing roaming the house in the middle of the night with a gun in your hand?
I couldn't sleep, so I thought I'd clean it. I was going to the kitchen to look for some oil.
I doubt you'll find what you need in there, unless you want to reveal with Crisco. Do you often carry that thing around with you?
Oh, I take it everywhere I go. Daddy taught me how to crack a shot when I was 10. A girl can never be too careful.
I don't think you have anything to worry about here at Starkweather Mansion. We're miles away from the nearest town. No one ever comes out this way.
You've never had a burglar? Or a prowler?
No.
Well, it's a wonder someone hasn't tried to steal something. I mean, with Great Uncle Simon's bedroom being on the ground floor, anyone could just break in those French doors and go into his bedroom and do who knows what.
Like shoot him.
Oh, well, as awful as that thought is, it could happen. I mean, he's so sickened on his condition, how could he defend himself?
You could sick Nurse Withers on him, I suppose. That should frighten away any intruders.
Oh, you're just awful. But you know what? I wouldn't want to tangle with that woman. Where does she sleep?
In the room beyond Mr. Starkweather's, so she can hear him if he rings for her in the night.
Let's see. If I remember correctly, this room over here used to be a library, and beyond that was a parlor. Am I right?
That's correct. When Mr. Starkweather was too ill to go up and down the stairs, the library was converted into a bedroom for him, and Withers took the parlor.
They're the only ones that sleep downstairs.
Yes. The servants' quarters are in the attic, under the eaves. We have our own staircase from the kitchen. Why do you ask?
Oh, I was just curious.
So you're curious about the layout of the house, are you?
Yeah, I was just curious.
Well, you know what they say. Curiosity kills the cat.
Yes, well, if you'll excuse me.
Wouldn't it be ironic if someone did break in tonight? Of all nights,
That's hard. You're feeling frightening me to death.
My apologies. Might I ask if you just strewn about the room?
Did you tell us? Oh, my heart. I have a heart condition. Maybe I should take two.
Did you tell us? Doesn't that speed up one's heart rate?
Oh, yes. My little heart is just pumping away.
I suppose a single dosage is sufficient, and an overdose could be fatal.
Extremely fatal. Or by being redundant. I suppose fatal is fatal, just like dead is dead. Don't you agree?
Completely. One cannot be deader than someone else. Dead longer, perhaps. But that is only a comparison for that word that comes to mind. Might I inquire why you brought the medication into the living room?
Why? That's a good question. Why did I bring him down here? Oh, I remember. I was going to show him to Miss Withers to see if she might be able to get me some free samples with her medical connections. You know?
But it looks as if your bottle was full already.
Yes, it was. But it never hurts to plan ahead. It's better pick them up.
Allow me to assist you.
Benson hurts. Can I ask you something?
Be my guest.
Why are you carrying your branch?
Branch. Well, you see, I happen to remember Miss Withers mentioned she thought involved in the gas heater. Starkweather's room. It's loose. I thought I'd give it an extra turn or two.
How mechanical of you. We wouldn't want any of that gas escaping to this room, would we?
Naturally not. But first, shall we?
I feel like a pigeon picking popcorn.
Listen,
Where?
inside your left kneecap. Left kneecap.
Got it.
The ropes everywhere.
Ground objects tend to do that, madam.
Mr. Smithers.
Oh, Mrs. Starkweather. What are you doing in the store with Vincent?
Here, my pillows. I've dropped into your pillows. Please watch your frequency here. Both of them.
I assume Mrs. Starkweather has required an injection. Is there a problem?
Nothing I can handle. His lungs seem to be somewhat congested, so I take him from his bed and put him in his wheelchair. Then I gave him an injection of steroids to help him in his bronchial passages.
My. Word of the sign was that you.
Dead. Without me, his heart would have stopped beating long ago.
Speaking of which, wasn't there something you wanted to ask Ms. Withers, madam?
What's that?
The digitalis.
Oh, yes. Mr. Smithers, I was wondering if you happen to have any manufactured samples of pellets you don't need. I have a heart condition and like to keep a supply handy.
I can see why you would. Yours tend to run out, don't they? I'm sorry, Mrs. Starkweather, but I'm flesh on spare drugs. The uncle requires everything we've got to keep him going.
Why? I can't remember all of mine. Will you help us, my dear?
I suppose.
Is this a private game or can anyone play?
Mr. Davis, we're picking up spilled pills.
Oh, is that all? I thought you were hosting a tiny little marble tournament. How's that?
Here, let me give you these. I really must return to my duties.
And here are mine.
Thank you, thank you. The bottom of my heart.
If you'll excuse me.
Miss Withers, how was the box?
Boston. He sent me for a pitcher of water, and if I'm not back in a minute, he'll start ringing his bell. See what I mean? I'll be right there, Mr. Starkweather.
I gather he rings for you a lot.
Incessantly. When he stops ringing the bell, I'll know he's being the bucket. Excuse me.
Spoken like a true member of the medical profession. What about you, Benson? Switch with the wrench. Got a problem I can help you with?
Thank you, sir. But no, it will have to wait. I too should excuse myself.
Well,
You up so late, Mrs. Starkweather?
I couldn't sleep. What about you, Mr. Davis?
Well, I'm a real night owl. Besides, I was hoping young son Starkweather had shown up. I haven't met him yet.
Sam's a sweet boy. I do hope he's alright, though. It's a storm and all.
I'm sure he just pulled up the road and let it pass. It is starting to cloud over again. Might be in for another deluge.
Oh dear, I hope not. I'll believe I'll go back to my room and lie down.
Good night again, Mrs. Starkweather.
Night.
I'm coming, Mr. Starkweather. Oh, you're still here.
Yeah, just keep an eye on things.
I see. Well, my patient.
You're up to, Mr. Davis?
Yeah, and I'm not the only one. There's more traffic going through Starkweather Mansion at midnight than there is going down the interstate during rush hour.
I know what you mean. I've been here for stuff for past my bedroom door all evening. I'm not surprised though. With Mr. Starkweather's announcement, we could have guessed it would take his heirs to sleep this night.
Miss Van Zandt, between us, this whole cloning business, How do you feel about it?
I'm a lawyer, Mr. Davis, and paid to think, not feel. Can Mr. Starkweather be cloned? Definitely. There's no question the technology exists. Should he be cloned? Let's just say I wouldn't want to be the first to challenge nature by creating another Lois Van Zandt.
Yeah, me too. I'm a simple guy. I have enough to deal with in one lifetime. The sooner I can witness the sighting, get back to the real world, the better.
The will is finished. Mr. Starkweather can sign it first thing in the morning.
The old boy's still up. The nurse was in here a minute ago. I heard him ring for it.
In that case, there's no reason you can't sign it now.
That's what I'm thinking. People in this house are as tense as a bunch of long-tailed cats in a room full of rocking chairs. I know I'll feel better knowing that the boss's plan is a done deal.
I'll go up to my room and get the will. Why don't you let Mr. Starkweather know? What in the world?
Maybe someone did the circuit breaker.
But the store passed hours ago.
I know. I don't like this. I'm gonna find bets in here so show me the main circuit breaker.
Good. I'll let Mr. Starkweather know we takes care of it.
Two for the trade.
I'm coming, Mr. Starkweather! Mr. Starkweather?
Somebody out here? Mrs. Trent? Bensonhurst? Anybody?
Kathy, I think there's something wrong with Mr. Starkweather.
Oh no. He hasn't signed the will yet, has he?
No. Perhaps he just fainted. We need light. Mr. Davis is trying to... Mr. Starkweather!
Someone struck me.
It's Mr. Starkweather, help
I heard you scream.
He's dead. Someone put the blood pressure cuff around his neck and felt the pressure to the maximum. 300 millimeters of mercury. Mr. Starkweather has been strangled to death.
Poor Mr. Starkweather. Who would have done such a thing?
You kidding me? I'd say you and everyone in this room is up there on the top 10 list.
Me?
Hold it down. I see the body. What can you tell us, Ms. Withers?
When I brought in the pitcher of water and made sure he was breathing alright, I went into my room and laid across my bed. Then the lights went off.
I noticed that too.
Hush. Mr. Starkweather started ringing his bell, and I was managing to light a candle when someone struck me in the head. I must have blacked out. And when I came here, the lights were on and...
We can take it from there, Ms. Withers.
What's that on his robe? Is it blood?
I'm not sure.
Well, what else could it be?
I'll handle it. I'm the detective, remember?
You seem to be in charge, Mr. Davis. What do we do now?
We'll keep trying the phones. If no one can get through to the police, someone will have to drive into town and notify them that there's been a murder and stuck with a mansion.
Murder?
Maybe the old man himself. Or maybe not. Young Mr. Simon, you made it. And boy, do we have a surprise for you.
Dead. I can't believe Grandfather's dead.
I don't believe it, Cousin Simon. He's the deadest person I ever saw.
Funny you should say that.
Fence Nurse and I were discussing duties of dead earlier, and
Mother, please.
And he was murdered.
There's no doubt about it. You saw the body.
Poor grandfather. Maybe if I'd gotten here sooner.
How do we know you didn't get here sooner?
What?
For all we know, you could have arrived hours ago. Parked your car on the site, slipped into the house, killed the lights moments before you killed Simon Starkweather.
That's ridiculous. Why would I kill him?
I'd say a third of a $50 billion fortune is a pretty good reason to knock somebody off. If Mr. Starkweather had signed that new will,
But I didn't know about the new will. I wasn't here when you revealed that crazy cloning thing you guys told me about.
it would have been easy enough to hide outside those French doors and eavesdrop.
Why would I hide if I was expected here? I told you what happened.
Tell me again.
All right. I had to creep at a snail's pace to get to that long country road from town. Rain was lashing my windshield so hard I could barely see. The wind was snapping branches off the trees and flinging them against cars. It's like driving through a hurricane. When I got to the wooden bridge that spans around the stream that flows around the estate, I had to stop. The stream had turned into a raging river and tore the bridge to pieces. I remember the place about a mile from where I was, where a tree had fallen across the stream years ago. I used to play in it when I was a kid. I managed to find the tree and walk across it, even though the water nearly covered the trunk. Apparently I got here just after Grandfather was murdered.
It's a good story, but it sounds rehearsed.
It's the truth, I swear it!
Maybe, but I'm still not crossing you off the suspect list.
And just who else do you have on that list, Mr. Davis?
Everyone in this house, except Miss Van Zant and Miss Collins. They had a heck of a lot to gain if your grandfather lived just a few more minutes. As it turns out, they're left out in the cold.
Especially me. Lois has other clients. Now I'm among the unemployed.
I'm sure that once the estate is settled, you can arrange for you to be given a generous severance check.
Take it out of your portion if you like. Mother and I will pass.
So, nothing personal, of course.
Of course.
So, what do we do now?
Simon Starr reminded me. We could just play some bridge.
The way I see it, we sit tight until daybreak. Then, I have you show me your car and drive me into town. I'll give the police my statement and notify them that the bridge is up. My guess is they'll fly in by helicopter. They'll have to get the body to a coroner's office, examine the crime scene, and take everyone's statements. Once a homicide detective is assigned to the case, I'm out of here.
But you're a detective too, and you were right here when the murder occurred. You have a better chance of solving the crime than anyone else.
Sorry. But now that Mr. Starkweather's dead, I'm off the payroll.
I'll hire you to stay. I won't be able to pay you until I receive my inheritance, but if you're willing to wait.
You're on, kid. I figure you're good for the dough. Incidentally, that little offer just dropped you to the bottom of the suspect list. Well, guess it's time to start earning my salary.
How can we help, Mr. Davis?
First, I want to question everyone as to their whereabouts before Mr. Starkweather's body was discovered.
Establish everyone's alibis.
Yeah. Also, I need to know anything any of you or the staff might have seen or heard that might help us identify the killer.
Clues.
Yes. Motives, alibis, clues. These are all the tools the detective has to use at his disposal. In this case, the motive's clear. The other elements aren't yet, but I hope they will be by the time I'm finished.
Sounds like a good plan to me. Who do you want to start with, Mr. Davis?
Since you're paying the freight, call me Mike. How about you, Miss Thompson? Would you mind being first?
I'm awfully tired, but if I have to...
You don't have to, Paula. None of us do.
What do you mean, dear?
Your Mr. Davis isn't a police officer. We don't have to tell him the time of day.
You're right, Jordan. But why would you refuse to cooperate? Unless you have something to hide.
Now look, Simon, don't start accusing me of murder unless you can prove it. Simon has a point. You want me to tell the police that everyone cooperated except you? All right. Answer your dumb questions. But first, take Mother upstairs, have her lie down. She's getting up in years and she needs a rest.
Why, thank you very much, Jordan. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, not Miss Methuselah either.
Don't get excited, Mother. Are you okay? Do you need your digitalis?
No, but if I did, there'd probably be one or two pills under the sofa. I had a little Pilax in my phone bottle.
You can call us when you're ready.
I assume you want to question everyone in private. You can wait in my room if you like, Kathy. I want to go over the old will again, since it will be an official one.
Sure does.
I'd like to stay. Since I wasn't here earlier, hearing everyone's statements would help me paint a clear picture of what happened tonight. Start with the mansion.
You're the boss now. I'm particularly interested in what happened within the time Mr. Starkweather announced his new will and the time his body was discovered.
How long was that?
Several hours. Well, Miss Thompson, did you see anything that might help us within that time frame?
Well, I was very disappointed by Great Uncle Simon's announcement, as you might well imagine. I mean, I don't understand. Like, I can see how you can call me Tom Cruise or Johnny Depp, but Great Uncle Simon? No offense, Cousin Simon, but your grandfather was not a very nice person. Anyway, I spent most of that time up in my bedroom. I did come downstairs once on a little errand. I was just outside the kitchen door when I heard Minerva and that cute little maid Nancy talking.
What's the matter with you, girl? You haven't heard a word I said. Did you leave your mind in the room?
I'm sorry, Minerva. I'm so confused.
About what? Has that no good scamp Jordan been bothering you?
Jordan? I mean, Mr. Starkweather? What makes you think that?
When I walked in on you two, you were mighty close together. Real lovey-dovey like. What was he saying to you?
I think he wanted me to
do something you didn't want to do?
Yes, but it's not what you're thinking.
I bet he better stay away from you. If that boy tries anything, I'll cut him down to size.
Minerva, no. He's not interested in me. I heard him on Miss Collins.
I get the picture. When you lost your millions, he lost interest in you, didn't he? He's following the money right back to the Collins girl.
He proposed to her, but she laughed at him.
Serves him right, the lazy bum.
Don't call him that.
So you are hung up on him, Nancy. Don't be a fool. Jordan would just use you and toss you aside, like he's done to a dozen girls I know.
Maybe he's ready to settle down now. If Mr. Starkweather hadn't changed his will, Jordan will be free to...
Free to do what?
Nothing. If we're finished, I'd like to go to my room now.
Go on. Nancy?
Yes, ma'am?
Lock your door.
So, Mrs. Trent, did you see anything suspicious that might help us identify the killer?
Suspicious? I suppose you'd call toting a gun around the house suspicious? Even though Mr. Starkweather wasn't shot to death.
A gun. Who has a gun?
Besides me?
Paula Thompson, that's who. Claims she's a regular Annie Oakley. And she mentioned how easy it would be for someone to come through those French doors and to kill Mr. Starkweather.
Did she know?
Ask her yourself.
Anything else?
Well, I did happen to overhear a rather odd conversation between Rufus and Mrs. Starkweather. I had gone upstairs to distribute candles in case of a power outage, which turned out to be quite useful, as you know. I was about to turn the corridor onto the west wing when I saw Mrs. Starkweather at the far end near the stairs. Do I have enough? Oh dear.
Mr. Starkweather.
Rufus! You scared me out of your throat.
That's okay, man. At our age, we do our boring sideways, don't we?
I certainly hope not. These have got television set. It doesn't look affordable.
It is now. I'm borrowing it from one of the guest rooms that ain't in use.
Whatever for?
Well, see, I didn't sleep, so I thought I'd watch some TV. But the set in my room is all messed up. The color, I mean. Everybody in the damn blinking channel is green. Joey is green. Phoebe was green. Even Rachel was green. Look like everyone's starting to cover the prod or something.
How disconcerting.
You can say that again. Whatever it means. Are them breath mints? Because I wouldn't mind a few. I can still taste the nervous crouch you served for dinner.
These? Oh no, Rufus. You mustn't eat any of these pills. If you eat any of these pills, they could kill you.
In that case, I'll pass. Just make sure not to leave him around and someone killed a bunch by mistake. You kill over dead.
It's entirely possible.
What would you put on the death certificate? Cause of dead bad breath?
It isn't a laughing matter. I need these pills, you see. I need every one of them.
So Rufus had an axe in the house.
Yes, Master Simon. I had instructed him to chop some firewood earlier.
I'm surprised you trust him with an axe.
Personally, I wouldn't trust him with a butter knife. I was simply relaying Mrs. Starkle's instructions.
Tell me, Mr. Bensonhurst, did you see anything else of interest?
Just one, sir. Earlier tonight, I was coming from the kitchen when I saw Master Jordan to the door to Mrs. Starkle's room. The hall door, not this one. His behavior was quite furtive. It seemed as if he was about to answer when Miss Withers came out. It was apparent her unexpected appearance had startled Master Jordan.
Well, what do you want?
I was gonna check on Great Uncle Simon.
No need. That's what I'm paid to do.
How is he?
Still breathing. If that's what you're wondering about.
How much time do you think he has left, Miss Withers?
Let's just say he needn't start reading any long novels. Or even short stories.
Do you think he'll make it through the night?
I think Mr. Starkweather keeps his heart beating through sheer determination. Long enough to send any will. That is what you want to know, isn't it?
Well, you misjudged me, Miss Withers.
Give it a rest, Jordan. You'd love to see him drop dead before daybreak, just like everyone else in this house.
Including you. $1 million is a fortune. Anybody would kill for that kind of money.
If that's a hint, forget it. As Mr. Starkweather's nurse, I'd be the prime suspect if his death appeared anything but by natural causes.
Suspecting and proving are two different things.
I'm gonna forget you said that. Good night, Jordan. It's true. Jordan Starkweather did hint that I was in position to end his great uncle's life. But I assume Bensonhurst told you that I refused.
He did? But you could have changed your mind.
And then kill him with the blood pressure cuff? That would have been foolish. Hardly what you say, natural causes.
I agree. The man by which he was murdered makes no sense at all. For whoever did it.
It's as if the killer was flaunting the deed in our faces.
Why would they do that?
It's a good question. Tell me, Miss Withers. If you had to pick a likely suspect to be our murderer, who would it be?
Off the record? That Thompson girl, his great niece. She's too goody-goody for my taste. All those Southern girls can put on the charm when they want to. But Scarlett O'Hara was pretty ruthless when you get down to it.
We've been told Cousin Paula has a gun.
See what I mean? I do say she and Jordan are both desperate to get their hands on Mr. Starkweather's billions. I overheard them talking earlier this evening. It was shortly after Ms. Van Zandt's announcement about the new will. Didn't notice me before.
Well, what are we going to do?
declared insane.
I've thought of that, but it won't work. If cloning himself really was just a wild theory, maybe we could, but it isn't. It's been done before. His plan to be the first person to clone himself might be bizarre, but it isn't insane. We lose the case!
Yeah, you probably spend the pittance for an inheritor of the lawyers.
Yeah, like that Miss Van Zandt. She...
What? What is it?
I think I just thought of a way to get me on her team.
What is it?
If you can't beat him, join him.
Huh?
Fend for yourself, Jordan. I've got to talk to that lawyer, if you'll excuse me.
You can't beat them. Yeah. Now, where would that Kathy be?
It's true. Jordan did suggest we get married, but it wasn't what you call a romantic proposal. It was more like a business proposition.
You were going to have access to billions. What did Jordan have to offer you?
Himself, I guess. In my opinion, that fortune honey wouldn't be worth 2 cents.
So you did turn him down then?
Jordan is attractive in a smarmy sort of way, but any woman who would marry him would be a fool. Believe me, Mike, I'm no fool.
I knew that from the moment we started working together. Just comments.
You were smart enough to volunteer to carry grandmother's clone.
Look, Simon, once Mr. Starkweather made up his mind to clone himself, nothing was going to change it. He would have found a surrogate mother somewhere. It might as well have been me.
I understand. I just think the whole idea was creepy.
A lot nicer about it than the other heirs were.
For example?
Paula, for one. She hadn't given up hope of getting her hands on Mr. Starkweather's money.
How do you know?
I was in Lois's room with her when Paula knocked on her door. She asked her if she could speak to her in private in the corridor. And Lois went out with her. She didn't close the door completely, so I couldn't help but overhear the conversation.
We're very busy, Miss Thompson.
Praying that you will?
Yes?
You're a lawyer. Are you sure this cloning business is legal? You could lose your license to practice, couldn't you? If
The process we performed in Belgium, as I told you, our laws don't apply there.
what about ethics? Haven't lawyers been disbarred before for behavior that was unethical, if not illegal?
What's your point?
Listen, I want in on the deal. You can pay me from that trust fund to be the baby's nanny or whatever you name it. I don't care. If you refuse, I shall be forced to report you to the Bar of Association. Isn't that what you call it?
It is. Let me give you some free legal advice, Ms. Thompson. In the first place, if you make any accusations against me before the cloning procedure has been completed successfully, I'll sue you for the 50,000 you just received, and everything else you owe me, and I'll get it. In the second phase, once the baby is on the way, I plan to close down my office. I shall devote all of my time to Kathy and little Simon's care. After that, it won't bother me the least if I should be disbarred. You don't have to be a lawyer to administer an estate. Anyone can do it.
Oh.
So you see, human, your threats are meaningless. In fact, as an officer of the court, I should report your feeble attempt at extortion to the police.
Oh, I
Save
was it.
Take your silly southern self out of my sight, and I might be willing to forget it.
Fine, I'll go. You lawyer!
Excuse me?
Yes, Miss Trent?
I found what's left of the Christmas candles I stored away. I thought it might be a good idea to pass them out, in case of a power failure. I suggest you keep one and some matches stored nearby.
That's very thoughtful, thank you. Kathy's in my room, I'll take one for her also.
Miss Thompson?
Oh, all right. If you'll excuse me, there's something I need to get.
What's the matter with her?
Let's just say she's a poor loser. Miss Thompson played her ace and I trumped in her manners. I'll give this to Kathy.
Collins discovered Mr. Starkweather's body, you came into the front door. What were you doing outside?
Was I outside? Yep. Yes, I was. I remember I borrowed TV from the guest room
You
because...
heard why with this.
You did? You should travel faster around here.
All the actors in your TV set were green?
Sure was. Looked like the Martians had landed or something. Anyways, when I hooked up the new set, the picture didn't come out too good. Everybody in the channel was fuzzy as a windworm. So I went outside and turned the antenna around.
On the roof.
Well, it wouldn't do too much good if I put it on the basement, would it?
Did you hear or see anything outside?
Well, saw it now when I heard a bunch of bullfrogs.
I meant human.
Oh, I saw Mr. Jordan out in the patio, but I don't know what he was doing out there.
Earlier tonight, Rufus, did you hear anyone talking about the new will?
Who did? Oldman, Minerva, and Benson Hearst were going out in the kitchen before Mr. Starkweather croaked.
What were they saying?
That they ain't fair, that's what. That they work hard for Mr. Starkweather all these years and should have gotten their millions. Me? I didn't care too much. I'd figured $50,000 would do me good to buy me a set of televisions. Now, I'm even thinking of buying two.
Minerva and Benson Hearst.
Mm-hmm. The more Minerva thought about it, the madder she got. And geez, that woman's got a temper. She was about to serve into Mr. Starkweather's room and give her a piece of her mind.
You mustn't go in there, Minerva.
Who's gonna stop me?
I shall, if necessary.
You and whose army?
I totally agree with you that we were wrong. That a confrontation is not the answer.
Oh yeah? Then what is?
Have patience. Mr. Starkweather hasn't signed the will yet. Perhaps he'll change his mind by morning.
We should live so long.
No, Minerva. He should live so long.
So, Mr. Starkweather, what were you doing outside?
Just getting a breath of fresh air. Anything wrong with that?
Not if you remained outside.
What do you mean?
When I made a cursory examination of the crime scene, I noticed Miss Withers had left the window open just a few inches to lend some of that fresh air. Anyone could have climbed in and...
Are you accusing me of killing Radical Simon?
Calm down, Mr. Starkweather. I'm not accusing anyone. Yet.
Besides, Cousin Jordan, seems like conning someone else into doing your bidding. It's more your style.
Who told you that?
I asked the questions, if that's alright with you. I repeat, what were you doing outside?
You must know. Kathy and I had a disagreement. I blew up. I went out to cool off. Have you heard about that already?
I asked, you answer. Alright? If you didn't kill Simon Starkweather, who do you think did?
Look, I'm not saying she did it, but have you talked to that little maid Nancy?
Why her, Jordan?
Girl has a crush on me. We were with the ladies a lot, but I did nothing to lead her on. Felt that she was upset about the new will. Not that she would lose her money, that I would lose even more. I was strolling around the house earlier when I saw Nancy talking to Miss Withers.
Can I do something for you, Miss Withers?
I needed fresh water to prevent Mr. Starkweather's Benson. I got it.
That poor man, when he had the attack and lost his breath in the room, I realized what you said before, the slightest shock proved to be fatal.
Exactly.
The slightest shock. Mr. Starkweather.
I must go.
Yes. We wouldn't want anything to happen to him, would we? I was shocked when I was told Mr. Starkweather had given me the will. I didn't think he even noticed me.
Then you must have received two surprises. that you'd be inheriting $1 million, and then immediately find out it's being taken away from you.
3 surprises, actually. Now you're wealthy again.
Oh, Mrs. Starkweather, I was thrilled to be told your grandfather was leaving me $50,000. With that, I could go to college, like you, and get a good education.
Now you can do whatever you want, Nancy. What do you want to do?
I don't know. I haven't been thinking about myself much.
Who has been on your mind, Nancy? Jordan Starkweather, perhaps? I hear you're very fond of him.
Who told you that?
Cousin Jordan himself, for one. He implied that you might have even been willing to kill for him.
You what? How could he say such a thing?
I'm sorry to hurt you like this, Nancy, but now you see how Jordan's really like. He's out for himself and he'll trample anyone that gets in his way.
I guess I knew that. Minerva tried to warn me. I even heard him propose to Miss Collins. She turned him down, then later laughed about it when she told her friend Miss Van Zandt. I was taking fresh talk with Gershwin when I heard them talking. You think Jordan is cold-hearted, and Miss Collins is just as bad as he is.
Can you believe it? Those soulful gazes might work on some innocent young thing like that made Nancy, but he learned quick enough that I'm no pushover.
I wish I'd been there to see it. Sam Jordan is a match. I could tell Nancy about all the other bees who worked here before her. His Playboy days will be over soon enough.
What do you mean?
Up until now, Mr. Starkweather has given Jordan, as well as Fiona, Paula, and young Simon a generous allowance. Once he passes on, the $50,000 bequest will be the last they get of the Starkweather fortune. They'll have to learn what it's like to work for a living.
Simon's almost out of school, he'll do fine. But the others? They'll go through their money in no time. Then what kind of jobs can they get? Can you imagine Paula working behind a desk of a car rental agency?
Or Jordan driving cars at a loss for customers?
What will Fiona do, sell Avon?
Can I get you anything, Cousin Fiona? A glass of water?
No, dear, I'm fine. Mr. Davis, I want you to know that my Jordan couldn't have done. Oh, dear. What was done to Uncle Simon? He was loose in my room all evening.
Mrs. Starkweather, you know that's not true. Jordan told us himself. He was outside. And I saw you in here earlier with Bensonhurst and Withers.
That's right. Maybe that was last night when he sat with me.
Maybe it was.
Now I know I just took a Fletcher and never believed the suspects in the murder she wrote. It's so easy to get confused.
Concentrate on tonight, Mrs. Starkweather. Did you see anything suspicious?
Suspicious? I saw that horrible thing around Uncle Simon's neck. I call that suspicious.
I can before that, Cousin Fiona.
Before? Let me think. I don't know some sort of thing you mean, but
Yes.
it was right after you were told about the new will. And all had gone upstairs. I was going to pass the secretary's door when I heard that housekeeper near inside. They were speaking quite loudly, so I couldn't help but overhear.
What are you doing in my room, Mrs. Trent?
I was checking all of the guest rooms to make sure there were extra blankets in each. I suppose you're very pleased with yourself, Miss Collins?
Why do you say that?
It all worked out just as you planned.
I don't know what you mean.
I think you do. I understand now why you brought all those magazines from town and left them lying around where Mr. Starkweather would see them. You've done it for months.
What magazines?
Don't play dumb, scientific journals. I've seen them. They all had one thing in common: articles about cloning. I didn't realize until tonight, but now it's obvious what you were doing. You planted the idea inside Mr. Starkweather's head to clone himself.
So what if I did? There are no laws against sharing ideas, are there?
I'm sure your lawyer friend would say no, since you're in this together. That doesn't mean it's right. I think what you're planning to do is heinous.
To be perfectly frank, Mrs. Trent, I don't care what you think. Get out.
Starting to give orders already, are you? I'll leave. But remember one thing, young woman. You're not the queen bee yet. And you won't be until Mr. Starkweather's name is on the dotted line. Assuming that ever happens.
Kathy told me about Miss Kent's accusation that she engineered the cloning business, possibly with my help. It was apparent that Mrs. Starkweather reported the conversation quite accurately, which is somewhat of a surprise.
Is it true? Did you and Kathy give grandfather the idea to clone himself?
I don't think that's relevant to this case at hand, Simon. Besides, even if we did, we weren't breaking any laws. Am I right, Mr. Davis?
No laws I can think of.
Then shouldn't we focus on the law that was broken? I'm referring to murder, of course.
Right as usual, Miss Van Zandt. Can you volunteer any information that might help us identify the killer?
I will tell you this. Earlier this evening, I was going into the kitchen to ask Minerva for a pot of coffee. It was apparent that Kathy and I were going to stay up late, and I thought the caffeine might help. Minerva wasn't there, but Rufus was. He was talking to Fiona Starkweather, and their conversation was very peculiar.
Rufus! What are you doing with that axe?
I brought it from the woodpile. So sharpen it and dry it out, wanna see?
Goodness, no! Put it away!
I should. I've heard somebody, or even kills him.
What was that?
You didn't though? I get those sometimes. Do you? I see you still got your poison pills.
Did you tell us it's been poison to stimulants? You just have to be careful and take too many.
Oops. I hope you haven't gone down overdose. Maybe I can figure out how to do that in after 2 months.
You bring those up any closer, or else not try back to your hand to chop them off.
I was just trying to help Mrs. Starkweather.
Oh, don't. There's some fates worse than death. I assure you probably that I'm fine. I spilled the clothes early in the living room. I wasn't able to find them all.
I hope Minerva don't find that. She's the one who fixes Mrs. Starkweather's meals. And boy, she's pretty mighty mad at him right now.
What are you suggesting?
Oh, nothing. What was it that you came down here for?
I came over to see if Minerva had any delicious hors d'oeuvres left over.
Angela?
Never mind. I've seen too long. I have to try it.
Mr. Starkweather's meals. What do you want to know about them?
Who did you dine with? Did you eat the same food as everyone else?
Mr. Starkweather was on a very restricted diet. No fat, no salt. So I had to prepare his meals separately. What do you want to know about them? Is there something why I wasn't a cookie?
I don't know. He's a great cook. The leg of lamb you served tonight was wonderful.
Well, I've often been told I have terrific legs. So what's the problem?
Nothing. You seem to tell me all you need to know. Changing the subject. Can you recall for me those are the people who gathered in the kitchen with candles when the lights went out? Before I got there, I mean.
I'm not sure. Let me think. I was in the kitchen checking the supplies for breakfast when the lights went out. I struggled to find the candle Miss Trent gave me and to light it.
Minerva, Nancy, is everyone all right?
I'm here. I'm fine. What happened?
I was in my room when everything went dark. What happened?
Bensonhurst forgot to pay the light bill.
Keep it up and I'll forget to pay your wages.
What in the blazes is going on?
Apparently, the storm knocked out the electricity. My candles did come in handy, you see.
Remember to give me a gold star later. Bensonhurst, can we get the power back on?
That's what I came out here to see if you do.
The circuit breaker is right over here.
I hope they hurry. I don't like the dark.
That's quick enough for you? I better get back to my chores.
What did that idiot come in here for? He dragged water all over my clean floors.
When Mr. Starkweather doesn't fire him, we'll never know.
Any luck?
Yeah, I was there, alright. But I wish I had more. It could take weeks to get the results. If the will is probated and the killer gets his or her inheritance before then, they could disappear for good. You could buy a new identity easy enough for $1 million or more. I wish there was some way I could nab the guilty party tonight.
I was hoping we'd learn more from interrogating our suspects.
Me too. They were so busy trying to make each other look guilty they hardly revealed much about themselves. Sometimes it's just the slightest. Simon, move your feet.
What is it?
Here on the rug. I think it's... Simon, I know who murdered your grandfather.
Who?
I'll tell everyone as soon as I gather the evidence. Go find Bensonhurst and have him find the others and tell them I need to meet him in here immediately.
Yes, sir.
Whenever it's in here, like a pot of coffee.
Never mind that. Just go upstairs and talk when I get down here on the double.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure the police chief won't mind me collecting evidence inside his bags. Don't think he minds at all. Everyone settle down. Take a seat.
Very late, Mr. Davis. Very early to been in the house seat. But no one will ask Alu. Why'd you bring us down here this hour?
It's been a long day, hasn't it? I'm sure you're all very tired. I know I am. But I thought you all rest easier knowing who murdered Simon Starkweather.
You mean you've discovered who killed Great Uncle Simon?
I'm sure I have, as I'm going to show you in the next few minutes.
I'm amazed, Mike. How did you figure it out?
First, I had to answer a question that had bothered me from the beginning. It would have been so easy to make it appear that Mrs. Starkweather died of natural causes. A suggestion Jordan Starkweather made to Miss Withers. For example, Mrs. Starkweather, or her son, could have given him some of her digitalis to trigger a heart attack. Miss Withers could have achieved the same result by injecting the air bubble into his bloodstream. Again, any of you could have stuck into a room and stolen a needle and done the same thing. Also, it's highly probable that many of you even considered scaring the old man to death. Minerva with a knife, Miss Thompson with a gun, Rufus with his axe, Bensonhurst with his wrench. The possibilities are endless. Why then did the murderer put a blood pressure cuff around Mr. Starkweather's neck and inflate it until he strangled to death?
Might want to ask what that is.
It's obvious. When the cuff was put around Mr. Starkweather's neck, he was already dead. Isn't that right, Miss Van Zandt?
You really are very clever, Mr. Davis.
It had to have been you. We were in here when the lights went off. Mr. Starkweather rang his bell. I went to go find beds on hers. You went to go check on Mrs. Starkweather. The murderer must have killed Mrs. Starkweather, slipped into Miss Wither's room, seconds before you discovered the body.
That's what I figured too.
But why would you put the cover on his neck?
As our rival detective here surmised, the murderer made it appear that Mr. Starkweather had had a heart attack. Death seemed to have indeed been due to natural causes. There was no doubt in my mind, however, that someone in this house killed him. I knew that under the circumstances, the coroner would have no reason to do an autopsy on the body, nor would the police conduct an investigation. I wasn't about to let my employer's murder get away scot-free. I noticed a blood pressure cuff on his bed, so I put it around his neck and inflated it before wheeling him into the room.
And your plan worked? No one would question the fact that he had been murdered.
So young Simon hired Mrs. Davis to find the killer.
Which I have. That was very naughty of you, Miss Van Zandt. For a while, your little ploy distracted me from the main question. Instead of asking who did it, I kept asking why do it that way. Once I solved that little piece of the puzzle, the rest came easier.
I'm sorry, Mr. Davis, but if you've identified the murderer's identity, then the ends must have justified the means.
I'm sure the police might even agree with you, and might even forgive you for being guilty and tampering with the evidence at the crime scene.
If not, I'm on very good terms with local judges.
Wait a minute. I didn't know Miss Van Zandt didn't kill Critical Simon herself.
No motive.
Oh, yeah.
Who keeping us in suspense? Who killed Mr. Starkweather?
I'll show you. Bear with me.
What?
Stay seated.